Hey, how's it going? It's good to see you. I am here to read again from my book and then share the messages that flow through. And I absolutely love this, and I would love to do it more just because I love to do it. I love the connection with you. And my intention, my hope, my prayer is that you feel the words that have come through me, and they speak not just to your mind but also to your heart. And so that is my hope for you. Okay, so I'll just pray, set the intention. Okay. I'm only laughing because I was going through the book 2 days ago for planning. I'm running a summit in January, and I was planning and being guided by the book, and this section was one of the sections that came up. Okay. Here we go. While at times we take our anger, our frustrations, our resentment, our sadness, our hurt, our hate, our grief, our unhealed emotions, our traumas, both big T and little t, out on others, that is only sporadically. The inward turmoil, until healed, is always on. And even then, when it is healed, there can be more layers that need to be healed. So old thoughts, feelings, and emotions can still creep through at times. For me, prior to my healing journey, my thoughts were constant and loud, so loud. They were always conflicting with each other. Do this, no, don't do that. Go, no, don't go. Say this, no, don't say that. Why did you say that? It wasn't that bad. On and on and on. It was as though my inner thoughts were in conflict, turmoil really. These parts of me can be so mean. These are things I would never say to anyone else. There was so much self-criticism. I'm such a bad mom. How could I do that? How could I say that? What was I thinking? Gosh, Jessica, you're so dumb. You can't do that. What makes you think you could do that? These parts of me were so critical, and sometimes they can creep back in, but most of the time they have been heard and healed and therefore released or integrated. The guilt I felt as a mom was overwhelming. Watching my mom never set unconsciously instilled a message in me I must always be doing. Always. This message was then reiterated by society, family, friends, school, social media. What I grasped from this message in living in a home with love, but also alcohol and yelling, was that things need to look perfect. They don't necessarily need to be perfect, but they need to look perfect. From the outside in, people need to believe that everything is great. We don't talk about the challenges of life. We don't talk about our negative feelings. We don't talk about the bad things. We only talk about the good. We only share the good. In my home, I learned that other people's feelings are very important. In fact, so much so that we must be willing to compromise our own happiness, our own well-being to make others happy. Sharing these always positive messages wasn't just to look good for my family. It was also to make sure that what I shared didn't make others feel bad or sad or any other emotion besides happy. As you may remember, I had a belief that others' happiness was my responsibility. The guilt I felt was constant. Bottom line, if someone wasn't happy, or I perceived them to not be happy with me or in general, then there was guilt. Guilt for saying yes, guilt for saying no, guilt for going, guilt for staying, guilt for sleeping, guilt for showering, yes, showering, guilt for doing anything for myself. What followed these thoughts and guilt? Shame. Shame was my deep, dark secret, a part of me that I didn't want anyone else to see. Growing up Catholic, it was as though there were two requirements, guilt and shame. What I've learned of shame is that it is when we start to define ourselves by the bad things we have done. When we not just label ourselves, but become the criticism, the label. Okay, that was a lot. So, what I've learned about criticism, about being so critical of myself, about always taking it out inward, is because I couldn't take it out outward. There was no place to take it out outward. If I did, it was unkind and rude, and how could you speak like that, and what are you saying those things? And so how I felt I could only share inward. And so it became my dialogue. And this criticism was so overwhelming until I learned that it was just parts of me that were trying to protect me. They knew that the criticism external could involve punishment, could involve shame, could involve hurt, could involve mean words, could involve getting physically spanked, could involve many things. And so this internal dialogue became so loud to protect me from what could happen outside. And remember, I grew up learning that what was on the outside was more important than what happened on the inside. So therefore, it was okay for me to take this out internally. And then there was this guilt. And this guilt was so heavy. And I mean heavy, like here heavy. It was just so heavy. And I felt responsible for everyone and everything's feelings. And if I couldn't make them happy in some way, then I felt guilty. And it was so exhausting, guilt exhausting. And what I couldn't feel guilt for, I felt shame for. Or the guilt turned into shame, or the shame turned into guilt. It was all one, just weave, this intertwining, this intertangling of feelings that I didn't really know how I felt until I started to observe them, until I started to honor how I felt. And what I have to say now is that the amount of guilt I feel is almost, I don't really feel guilt anymore. And when I do, I know it's those parts of me that believe that other people's happiness is my responsibility, and or I believe that there is healthy guilt. And what I mean by that is when we do something wrong, when we say something wrong that is truly wrong, right? Not that we've been conditioned that's wrong, but that we know in our heart and soul is wrong. That, we can apologize and we can ask for forgiveness. But what I want you to walk away with from today is that this self-criticism and this guilt They can go hand in hand. They tie hand in hand. And really, they're just trying to protect us. Trying to protect us to keep other people happy. Trying to protect us from not getting hurt. Trying to protect us from not saying what we think we need to say, or what we think we need to do or not say, or it's just trying to protect us. And if we can see it in that way, if we can have compassion for the criticism, compassion for the guilt, and look at it in a different way, we open up a space for love and a space for forgiveness. And that's really what it's all about, is this deep love for self and this deep forgiveness. Because when we can give that to ourselves, we can more openly give it to others. Start with yourself. There's no one that is going to forgive you for the things that you've done to yourself but you. You can do it. I believe in you. And if you have any questions about self-criticism or guilt or healing parts or just reconnecting to yourself and putting yourself first so that you can actually start to love yourself from the inside out, just send me a message. I'm happy to help you. I'll talk to you later. Have a good day. Bye.